Welcome to the show. I'm the People's Lawyer. Before I get into more detail, I want to ask you guys how you like how I'm dressed. All of my friends and everybody I talked to said that I had to dress this way if I'm going to be a lawyer on a channel. I only dress this way when I go to court or special occasions, and so I'm the People's Lawyer. Don't get used to this, and now that we're really going to get ready to get to work, I take this off and really talk to my people the way I want to. And so why this show? Initially what I'll do is I'll ask legal questions that I come up with and friends come up with. And from time to time, I know some of the best lawyers in the country. I'll have some of my crew here to talk about it. I know wonderful people across the board, and I'll maybe have them pop in from time to time. But the primary thing is that we want to demystify the law. We want regular everyday folks that are having problems with the law to have access to tools and supports for it. And if folks need to talk to me and need me to come out to where you are, if you're dealing with a big issue of injustice, I'll come out, I'll travel. We really want to work together to solve problems. I don't want folks sitting there dealing with legal problems and unfairness and injustice and feeling like they're alone. The most powerful force on the planet, and the thing that I want to generate here, is this idea that love is the most powerful and transformative force on the planet. And we're gonna call on that love to build community and help each other in unselfish ways. And so that's who I am. And my ideas are that the world is unfair and that it's our fault. It's good people, because most of the planet is good and decent people. And it's our fault for not making it better. We can't. I'm going to do it one person at a time here. And my contribution to that is promising to give my commitment to making the law accessible, especially around broad issues of injustice. I've got a broad experience in the law. I'm a graduate at the undergraduate level of Howard University. I'm a graduate of the fabulous University of Wisconsin Law School, 1985. For those of you who don't try to do any calculations to figure out my age, I've been a lawyer for a long time. Love y'all for being here with me. Let's solve some legal problems. And if you need me, I'm the People's Lawyer and I'm coming. I got your back. I forgot to tell y'all too, another thing about me is I'm a former boxer and martial artist. I saw an older brother on one of those social media things. I think it may have been TikTok. He had the Cali sticks and he was moving, and he said, "Don't confuse an old man with an OG." And so with me, don't confuse me with an old man, because I'm an OG. I love y'all. Let's get it on and popping. Welcome everyone back to this meat and potatoes portion of the People's Lawyer. As you can tell, I'm not in the same clothes. I've changed. All the people that do this professionally on YouTube says I gotta wear the same shirt and the same thing for one program. But like a lot of you, I got a regular life, regular job called. My son called. I didn't get to do the video as quickly as I like, so I'm back. I'm going to give you one thing that my son calls a hack. I didn't know what a hack was, but a hack is an easy way of doing things. My son, DeVito, told me about a hack. A hack is something that makes things easier for you to do. If you ever get in a problem and you can't find a lawyer and you're in a hurry, I'm going to tell you a secret. There are law clerks at courts all over the country, in many instances, that know more than any lawyer. They have a pro se section down there, or pro se documents. If you spend some time with a desk clerk, or the clerk there, the clerk of the court, in those areas, they'll help you. When I was a young lawyer in the District of Columbia, and I had problems with filing papers and knowing what to file, I used to always go to the clerk of the court's office and get help. And it was always some very seasoned, thoughtful person in DC Superior Court that would help me figure those things out. A dear friend of mine is looking for a family lawyer. Every lawyer she's been trying to talk to wants to charge her $10,000 for a discrete issue that's not going to take that long. So I've agreed to kind of help work her through it and do it with the clerk of the court, and kind of walk her through how to do it on her own. I want to be clear that it's hard in this kind of environment to offer specific legal advice. And so I like to talk to people. I like to help you find resources in and around your communities. There's legal resources. There's local bar associations. There's all kinds of other things that you can get to. And you might have to get a lawyer, and sometimes you just have to. But sometimes they're discreet issues. You need a lawyer to write a letter to your creditor. You need a lawyer or someone that's thinks like a lawyer to write something to your landlord or to one of your bosses. And so with that, as I get to understand what you guys need and want more from me, I'll be able to target the questions there to your liking. Feel free to look at the link below and send me an email if you have specific questions you want to see on the week to week show. All right, so enough babbling by the people's lawyer. So the first question is this, or the first legal issue is this: what do? You got a job, your paycheck is wrong, and you're not getting paid overtime. This has been going on for some weeks. You've talked to your bosses, you talked to your supervisors, they're not paying you your overtime. This one's kind of easy, right? There's something called the FSLA, the Fair Labor Standards Act, that kind of protects you getting overtime. If you have questions about that or how to do the math and the science about how your overtime should work, lots of states and federal jurisdictions kind of cull hours and do it a little differently. If you need some help with that, send me a note and I will. But the main thing you want to do is you want to make the supervisor aware, and we can help you find it. There's a law called the Fair Labor Standards Act, and it doesn't let you not pay the overtime. And if you can calculate your overtime clearly, what I would do first before calling a lawyer that's going to want to charge you is I try to calculate exactly what you think your overtime days were. Look at those old paychecks or pay stubs, and if you don't have them, your human resource department or your employer, or if they use a contractor, they have an obligation to give those things to you so you can review them. You probably get them all the time, and most places now have them where they get them digitally or electronically. But you want to review those, do your calculations, share with them. Don't even worry about highlighting. Just tell them FSLA says I get paid overtime. Don't be too technical. They and their lawyers and human resources know what that means, and give them to them and say you want to get this paid because it's fair and it's what the law requires. One of the things that happens all over the country, and that's why I encourage all of you to watch your paychecks. Every time you get them, watch them and pay them. Even if they're often off a single penny, you'd be surprised how often and how inaccurate sometimes payrolls are. And they put the obligation on us to kind of watch and monitor our pay. And most employers, not all of them, but lots of employers will be looking to correct it if you're not watching it and you don't get it. So watch your pay. Even if you don't have an overtime problem, I would encourage everybody to kind of a weekly check your pay, make sure it's consistent with whatever your job offer was and how or whatever your contract. All right, question number 2 are issues around us protecting the benefits that we know that we have. And for example, one of your benefit plans, whether it's a medical benefit plan if you've got medical insurance on the job, and or a pension or 401k, those are benefit plans like your salary that we've got to kind of keep an eye on and we got to watch, right? Because sometimes the folks that are administrators of those plans make mistakes. They're human beings like us, and sometimes it can be something else, right? They make a big error. And so we've got to watch our benefits and our plans sometimes. So the question is, what happens if you get a bill from your medical provider for an item that you know is covered? It can either be a prescription medication that you're filling out for you or your partner or your significant other or one of your children that has been covered all the time, or it's a certain kind of procedure that you know has been covered for all your coworkers and covered before, and all of a sudden you get a notice from your insurer saying they're going to charge you a third of the cost or something that you know that's not fair and is different. One of the first things that you got to do is what I would do is you've got to engage the administrator of the plan. And how do you find out who the administrator of the plan is? You can find it 2 ways. You can go to human resources and ask them for the phone number of the person that's the administrator of our plan. You go call them and tell them, hey, this is wrong. Can you show me why you think this is right? All right? That's the thing I think the non-lawyers can handle really easy. A lot of times with some of these issues that pop up when we think we got to have a lawyer, it just takes a phone call, a little what we call back in Ohio, a little Southwest Ohio where I come from, a little elbow grease, right? You gotta care enough about yourself to push. Now, some of us will get really, really busy, and we have to remember that we can't take care of other folks in our lives and around us if we don't take care of ourselves. And part of taking care of ourselves is making sure we're getting paid right, our medical benefits are correct, and people aren't taking advantage of us in those spaces, right? I know I'm talking fast. I got a habit of doing that. I'm going to slow down just a little bit now. One of the other things that you can do to begin to understand if there's an error in the way your benefits are being charged or doled out, I'm talking about just medical benefits right now. And this is for all plans, whether you got a plan that's provided by your employer, you're paying for your own plan, you've got some kind of government-sponsored plan, you went to the clearinghouse and bought a plan. You gotta check all these plans, right? Because at the end of the day, we're the majority, and we're the ones that end up paying for those plans, no matter what they say about how expensive these plans are and all those kinds of things. We end up regular everyday people like us in our number. We end up kind of being the backbone of financing those plans. And so it's important to check your notice of benefits when it comes out. It's important to make sure when you get some kind of bill or summary of it, as you begin to think about your taxes later, that you just kind of look at it and understand it. Now, I'm here and there's other lawyers that can help you kind of maybe understand it in more detail. But so those are two things, right? Your wages and your benefits as it relates to medical. Those are things that you can monitor and easy things that you can kind of avoid problems with. Now, I'm going to go to another problem that's kind of insidious and large, and it's again around benefits. A lot of us are in spaces and places and where laws, and it kind of varies state to state, where laws don't sometimes require the employer to pay you a lunch. I mean, to give you a lunch. Sorry, they're required to pay. And if they don't give you a lunch, sometimes some of us don't think to make sure we get paid. So if they don't give you a lunch, they're required to pay you that hour for lunch. And so I want everybody to check their paychecks. I want to make sure anytime that your boss is telling you not to take a lunch, that you're making sure that you talk to human resource, you talk to payroll, and all this stuff that I'm talking about too. It doesn't require any kind of famous lawyer or crazy tone. Be yourself, be who you are, and be polite, and be respectful of the job. And sometimes those things break down walls. I've been in places with lawyers where they've been yelling. And when I was a young lawyer, I used to try to match that with force. But as I got older, I was like, just what they're yelling about makes no sense. There's no sense to, you don't have to argue or have a real contentious exchange until it's time for it. When it's time for it, you'll know. You'll have a real disagreement about the facts, or someone's not being honest, or someone's being unfair, and that's when you got to kind of defend yourself. And so laws almost all over the country, and there may be even greater benefits in some states, where if you miss or you're required or told that you're not going to have a lunch today and you can't get one, they're required to pay you for it. So make sure you tell them about that. So those are the three main things for today, the three main areas and the three things that I wanted to share with you. I hope that helps. If you have questions, I'm happy to talk about anything from housing to your timeshare that's off or that's unfair that you can't get out of. If you have a real estate question or a landlord-tenant question, anything that impacts kind of regular, everyday working people, the little things. You need a letter somewhere. I'm happy to talk about that. So I'm really excited to think about and hear about you guys providing questions to me, and we can kind of prepare to do them that way later. Thank you a lot.